I've just seen possibly one of the more horrific sights and one of the saddest sights of my life. The dogs have given up. I can't tell you, this is devastating. Heartbreaking.
Walking into the Tomohon market for the first time, my reaction is one of surprise, amazed by the sheer scale of fresh produce on sale. It looks and smells wonderful, and has the strange effect of lulling me into a very false sense of security.
I mean, what is fantastic here, Lola, is that every single piece of fruit that you could want is here. Wonderful avocados.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously the market produce here is fantastic.
Well, North Sulawesi is like the most beautiful, lush, green landscapes, which is why so many tourists come here, is because it is like so diverse, and you can see by all the different variety of...
Hello.
Baggy.
So you could actually, you could live here as a vegan or a vegetarian very comfortably.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Almost immediately and without warning, the atmosphere changes as we enter the extreme section of the market. The bright colors and fresh smells become something much darker, sinister, and nauseatingly pungent. I've not mentally prepared myself for such a terrible contrast.
This actually smells disgusting here, and it makes me feel like I want to vomit. Oh God, it's terrible.
This is bats and rats.
This is the whole perimeter of the market, of the extreme
so
market, yes?
usually the dogs and cats are out the front there, where they have cages and cages, and customers come and pick an animal to be slaughtered. Again, we've been trying to work with the authorities, who have asked the traders to essentially clean up the market a little bit, because they obviously know how it looks and they know that we're coming. But it still is what it is, and there are plenty of dog carcasses for sale, and I have no doubt when we go out to the car park, we'll find where they've moved the dogs to for whilst we're here.
And it smells disgusting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Butchery is going on behind us in the most unsanitary conditions. The smell here is just stomach churning. All of the traders that are butchering these animals, the hygiene levels don't exist. And I've looked at their hands, and their hands are filthy and their fingernails are black. And you just wonder who on earth would buy meat from here. It's shocking. It's quite unhealthy anyway, regardless of dog meat, because there are so many flies and things around. Is that a concern in terms of it, or does everything just kind of get cooked off?
Yes. After this, we will cook this.
Yes.
And also, some people think if there are many flies on the meat, it means no
infection.
No, like a formalin that we put for the dead man to preserve them. Yeah, that's the sign.
Oh.
Like some people, they look for the fish without the fly. It means they put formalin, some preservative additives for the fish.
They would have.
But if they have some fly, it means it's without the preservative.
Without preservative, so people would buy the ones with flies on it more than they would that doesn't have flies. I see. What I find really shocking is that they remind me so much of my dogs, and it breaks my heart to see this. It's a shocking enough market as it is, but we haven't seen any dogs or cats being slaughtered. I'm rather relieved to hear that, I have to say. Why do you think that's happened? What's happened?
I think they know that we're coming, because obviously we've been requesting meetings with the Governor's office and the Mayor's office here in Tomohon. And obviously, the Mayor's office knows how damaging the image of this market can be to its international and national reputation.
So they've removed all the horror.
So the traders we've already been told, had been asked to remove any live dogs and cats from the market this morning. And you know, that's all well and good to kind of do a quick clean-up whilst we're here, but it doesn't change the reality. At this time, it isn't real change. And, you know, we were here a matter of months ago and we saw hundreds of dogs and cats being slaughtered, and every single one of them was being bludgeoned on the streets and blowtorched in the same streets we've just walked through. And
so it's very carefully stage managed.
In a rare moment, I'm invited to speak with Harold, a representative of the City of Tomahon's mayor's office. I want to know whether the absence of live animals and public slaughter really is for our benefit, or whether there's been a genuine shift in policy towards ending the trade.
There were no dogs on display here this morning. Does that mean that they've stopped slaughtering dogs at this market, or is that just because we came here this morning?
The dog meat, you have seen that the dog meat is still in the trade in this market, but we have instructed them to the dog meat traders, so they don't kill the dog in the market, but in their house.
I see. Okay.
But it is only the middle target, and the final target is free of dog meat, so free of the traders of dog meat.
It's encouraging to hear that this market is going to become free of dog and cat meat within 1 year. However, as Harold and I are talking, Lola receives a message from a colleague saying they found a cage of live dogs in the market, ready to be butchered once we've left. If true, this would completely undermine everything we've just been told.
Are they still there?
They're covered.
Yeah. Can you show us where they are?
Yeah, sure.
how many?
This is heartbreaking. This is devastating. There are 4 very, very traumatized dogs in this cage under here. I've never seen sadder dogs in my life. It's heartbreaking. These dogs have just given up all will to live. They are not responding at all. Dogs don't behave like this. They are totally traumatized. It is just so sad. And not only are they traumatized, they're probably carrying some kind of disease as well. They just look very, very ill. It's devastating.
Lola begins negotiations with the city's chief vet to see how and if the dogs can be helped.
I mean, even if it's to euthanize them, I mean, they're in such bad condition, and they're not meant to be here, and, you know,
Despite having seen this sight so many times, the barbaric fate of animals in the extreme market creates emotional pain and distress for Lola. And today, she knows that the odds of being able to help these particular dogs are heavily stacked against her.
You know, we can help then work out what to do with the dogs, but I think for now, I mean, we can't leave them here.
Can anything be done for them?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the authority to confiscate them. So, I mean, we're here with the government. I kind of, you know, it's their job.
I've just noticed that there are a couple of traders behind us who are clearly not very happy with us being here. And just now there were 3 of them looking at me with absolute contempt and that sense of, what are you doing in our market?
The discussions continue in earnest. The police are called, as is the director of the Tomahon market. So far, nobody in authority looks willing to take any action. And interestingly, Harold, the city representative I spoke to earlier, is nowhere to be seen.
They're watching us and they're waiting for us to go. And I can't do that because I won't be able to sleep tonight or ever again. You know, and we've heard so many good things about promises of action. Now's the chance to take it.
And then, in a blatant show of defiance, the traders taunt us by wheeling the caged dogs out of the market. We follow as far as we can, but eventually they reach a building which we can't access. They're beyond our reach, and despite Lola's best efforts, they cannot be saved. The police, the market director, the city officials. Nobody came.
You really can't prepare yourself for this kind of experience here. It is quite devastating, and even though the dog meat part of this experience at the extreme market has been stage managed to make it look like it isn't as bad as it really is. You found those poor dogs under that tarpaulin. Can you just tell me what sort of happened as far as you can understand it? As far as I could see it, Lola had insisted that the police be called because the secretary this morning told us that dogs would not be slaughtered in this market.
They just show how useless they are. They had a chance to do something. And they just don't.
Yeah. We have just discovered that there were 5 extremely sick-looking dogs waiting to be slaughtered under a tarpaulin in this extreme heat. I've never seen dogs in the kind of condition they were in. They had no responses that I would recognize. I know that you are clearly devastated. Can you just tell me what you think has happened, Lola?
I imagine these dogs have been imported up from South Sulawesi, which is where we know the majority of the dogs are being imported into North Sulawesi from. So already I imagine these animals have endured maybe 30 plus hours after being captured from South Sulawesi and driven up to the north. And then you see where they end up, and essentially sitting hidden from our sight whilst we were there, waiting to be slaughtered. And we've been to these markets not long ago, and we know exactly what happens to the dogs and cats at this market, and essentially they're waiting to be bludgeoned and blowtorched and sold for human consumption. But it's obvious that they're so sick and unresponsive and gone into a state of depression, and it's just very difficult.
Yes. Am I right in thinking that the man in the red shirt is clearly the dog butcher, who was just standing at his table opposite the dogs under the tarpaulin? He was clearly aware that we were waiting for the police to arrive, and he's just had them taken away, and we now don't know where they've gone.
That's right, and so we were there with some of the government officials and waiting to see what action could be taken, calling the police, and based on existing laws and regulations, try and get those dogs confiscated so we could take them into our care. And it became a bit of a standoff, and inevitably, ultimately, the traders came and removed the dogs to somewhere where we can't follow them, and so they're out of our hands now, unfortunately.
It's devastating, isn't it? Terrible. Oh, God.
Well, this is a market that we've been to a number of times before as well. So,
yeah. Do you know how many dogs are slaughtered here?
It's when it's busy. I mean, the numbers always vary quite a lot depending on the time of year. So it's a bit smaller than Tomohon, but you're still looking at kind of, you know, thousands of dogs every month that are processed through here, and cats also. So, Peter. You can see some of the live dogs are at the back there.
Well, here we are at the meat section of the London market, and there's all kinds of animals here that are just to my left. There are some bats that are being blowtorched and then rubbed down with a wire brush. I'm just really trying to remain as objective as possible because, again, it's really quite shocking. Clearly what we're looking at now is a customer selecting a piece of slaughtered meat and choosing what they consider to be a prime cut. It looks absolutely disgusting to me. On my left, lying on the table, are a couple of cats that have clearly just been slaughtered, and one has been blowtorched, and the other, I think, is waiting. This gentleman over here, or I should say this butcher over there, is clearly going to blowtorch these poor creatures in a little while. Now, just if you look to my right, you can see a dog that's being butchered. He's obviously just been blowtorched, and now he's being dismembered. And it's just really beyond belief. It's horrific. This is clearly where the dogs are slaughtered, and if you look to your right, you'll see the intestines of some slaughtered dogs just by the wall there. I would say, looking at these dogs, they're in a state of shock. They clearly know what's going to happen to them, and they clearly know that they are powerless to resist their fate. It is so sad to see the animals that we care so much about. I don't want to be cliche, but they are our best friends. And here they are, languishing in a cage in this heat, just waiting to be slaughtered.
With the help of our guide, I speak to a trader to get a better understanding of how he can be part of something so abhorrently cruel. Yoki has been in this business for 35 years. He's personally presided over the slaughter of 100,000 dogs and cats, and unbelievably has a pet dog of his own. He believes that any dog sold to him, whether an unwanted or stolen pet or an illegal import from another region, is fair game. His pet dog, however, is not. He offers no reason why the life of his pet is of greater value to the lives of the dogs he's slaughtered. Trade, he tells me, is as good as it's ever been. Earlier today, the place where we are standing was filled with cages of the dogs and cats awaiting slaughter. For Yoki, this is a lucrative business. He has no intention of leaving.
This is like nothing I've ever encountered before, and I know you have, Lola, so many times, and I can see how upset you are by it. We're now just talking about saving 2 or 3 of these dogs. Otherwise, they're all going to be killed today. And I know that, people say, why not save them all? But sadly, we just can't. So we have to make a choice. It's just impossible to describe how one feels at this moment. You can see how Lola is feeling. And it's... what is shocking is that this is just business to the dog meat trader, and we keep getting the information that it's getting less in this country, and the dog meat trader just said it hasn't changed in 35 years that he's been in business. And to him, he has no feelings about it whatsoever. It's a product. And we'd have to talk a bit more about that when we leave this market, and that I just am really too shocked to be too coherent about it. But I think we should make a choice now, Lola, and get out of here. Would you agree? I don't want us to be insensitive, but we'll discuss it. So we're just going to choose the dogs that we can take and see how we can get out of here.
Working with Anne from Animal Friends Manado, Indonesia, Lola begins bartering with the traders to find out how much it will take for them to release the dogs into their care. The process is not straightforward, as the traders are reluctant to part with their dogs and continue to push the price. However, Lola remains steadfast and eventually agrees a price for 3 of the dogs.
He's very young and, of course, just bewildered. And there are 3 together in another cage, and we're going to rescue those 3. It's an appalling choice to have to make, and it's heartbreaking, but that's what we're going to do.
At the last minute, and at the end of a difficult negotiation, the reluctant trader agrees to part with 1 more dog, just minutes away from being bludgeoned and blowtorched.
Okay?
Yeah.
You okay? Is it this opens here?
Yeah, I think so.
Just gonna shift it. That's it.
Okay.
A bit more. Trying to watch Andrew's camera there. Are you okay? Oh my God, Lo.
No, it's fine.
No, it's not fine.
It is.
Shall I just try and take him out?
I'm just scared if she bites you, we are in Rabiesville.
If he bites me, then he bites me.
Pardon?
If he bites me, he bites me.
Who's this? Okay, if I try and... Hey, it's okay. I think we just need to like either buy the cage or get them to like scoop her out or something. This is so hot in here, we're all going to pass out.
In a truly bewildering moment, the traders help us get the dogs from their steel cages into the crate that will be loaded onto the back of our truck. Using the very tools we've come to despise, they adeptly and swiftly move the dogs, demonstrating their decades of practice. We have no guarantee that these dogs aren't carrying rabies or other infectious diseases, so this moment is best tackled by the very men who care so little about it. Immediately after leaving the market, we pull over to give the dogs water because we know they've been denied this basic right for many hours, if not days.
You're a lovely girl. What's this? You're the sweetest little girl I've ever seen. You are. It's a good boy. My good boy. Oh, so thirsty.
They were completely docile and frightened, terrified. Now they're inquisitive and want to get out. Then they'd shut down, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think also that a lot of it is testament. It's testament to where they come from. I mean, so many of these dogs, like we've heard from the traders so many times, they were pets, and people are selling them to the traders when they no longer want them. And you know, in the case of these dogs, they've come from the neighbouring province of Gorontalo, which is firstly totally illegal for the dogs to be crossing provincial borders, but also it's a horrible long drive, and I can't imagine the last time these dogs have been given something to eat or drink. So they'll be quarantined and health checked, and then they'll start their life here at AFNI and hopefully find forever homes. But either way, they're safe for life.
Baby.
Straight away, all 4 dogs are placed in quarantine and given an extensive health check by the Animal Friends Manado Indonesia team. Their rescue center is the only one of its kind in this province, and without their work, rescues like this simply wouldn't be possible. And Anne and Frank, both natives of this province, have an attitude towards the meat trade that is the antithesis of many locals. I wanted to know more about the cultural aspects of eating dog meat and why so many of the people involved have them as pets.
If you go to the houses, most of them, I think I can say about 80% of them, except for the Muslim population, 80% of them have dogs and cats as a pet. But yeah, majority of them is also a dog and cat eater. They also eat dog and cat. And majority of them will not eat their own dog or cat.
Why is that?
I don't know, but it happens everywhere. And when they need to eat dog and cat meat, they go straight to the market.
And so when they see that they have their own pets, which they care about, they go and see a dog at the dog meat market. So they don't join up. I love this, but I don't love that.
Yes.
And so this is just food, and this is friend.
This is my dog, my pet.
Yeah.
I don't like to eat it. That is not my dog. I can eat it.
It's extraordinary, that, isn't it?
Yes, unique.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Do you think that dog meat eating is part of your culture?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, because we already spoke with Historica, and they said it's not absolutely nothing to do with culture. Yeah.
So the people that keep saying, "Don't stop us eating dog; it's part of our culture," they're wrong.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Would you say that you are different to the greater population in North Sulawesi? You care more for them than other people who live here?
Maybe because not only me, the one. We actually have a lot of people that care, but a lot of them is afraid to maybe to stand up against their own people, against the habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
When you say habit, you mean the habit of eating dog meat?
Eating dog and cat meat.
Yes. 24 hours later, and the difference in the dogs we've saved from Langawan market is staggering. And while we enjoyed such a positive outcome, I was all too aware of the millions of dogs that won't be this lucky. I wanted to know how Lola felt about the future of this terrible trade.
I believe that Indonesia is ready for change. It's a minority activity. You know, our investigations suggest that in many of the bigger cities like Jakarta, it's less than 1% of the population who partake in dog and cat meat consumption, and in nationwide we're looking at still less than 7%.
Yeah.
So I absolutely believe that it could happen quickly when, as soon as actions are taken. I do believe that, you know, kind of these market slaughterhouses and the illegal trade in dogs and cats could end imminently.
Would you be optimistic enough to predict a possible end date?
I think if actions are taken, it doesn't have to take long. You know, the trade could end. It's already so much of it is illegal and operating in breach of existing laws and regulations. If they were truly enforced, I really believe that it's something that we could be celebrating very soon.
So the big message then to the local government here in North Sulawesi is to take it seriously, follow your commitment, and stop it.
That would be my message nationwide, absolutely.
Yeah.